Hello, and welcome to TimeWorks Plus, SwipeClock's time and attendance solution. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to demonstrate the core functionality within the employee and manager experience, supplemental features that provide insight into your workforce, and some advanced tools like geofencing. Here's a rundown of what you'll see, with the video runtime markers in case you want to jump ahead to something specific. I'll summarize SwipeClock's clock options, take you through the employee portal and mobile app, and demonstrate the time off request workflow. Then we'll move into the management side of things, and I'll show you a few of our dashboard tools, as well as the views and features of the Timecard. After I go through those core features of the system, I'll get into some administrative tools designed for compliance, analysis, and evaluation of your workforce. These include monitoring overtime and attendance, and tracking wage and labor data. Then I'll present a quick sample of some of our commonly used reports. To conclude, I'll wrap up with customization options for accommodating paid leave, breaks, and meals. Lastly, for those with a mobile workforce, I'll demonstrate our mobile location management feature, which includes geofencing. Let's start where it all starts, with a punch at the time clock. SwipeClock offers multiple clock options, from traditional wall-mounted clocks to our browser-based web clock. With hardware clocks, employees can clock in and out with a pin or scan a card. But if you want to eliminate buddy punching, consider one of our biometric clocks. They use a fingerprint or facial scan to validate that it's the actual employee clocking in. SwipeClock Vision is a Wi-Fi enabled clock that records various minutiae of an employee's face to identify them when punching in and out. SwipeClock Touch is another Wi-Fi clock that combines fingerprint authentication with ProxCard and PIN entry methods. But we also offer more portable solutions. The web clock and our mobile app, TimeWorks Plus Employee, provide a ready-to-go clock requiring no physical setup. And if your needs go beyond the simple in and out punch, the intelligent clock functionality of Vision, Touch, Web Clock, and Mobile provides additional buttons for meals and breaks. These can be associated with break payment rules and give you some added insight and controls on your wage costs. And now that COVID-19 is requiring changes to our everyday routines, SwipeClock is developing a version of Vision called Vision Plus, with a thermal scanner that checks an employee's temperature when they clock in. More information on this model that checks for potentially sick employees will be coming soon. The time clock is probably what we all think about when it comes to time and attendance. But with TimeWorks Plus, that's just the beginning. Each employee can log into the employee portal where they get their own access point to the time card. Bulletins made by managers are posted right on the dashboard and appear as push notifications for those employees using the mobile app. Employees allowed to use the web clock will be able to punch in and out from the portal as well. By selecting the Time Card tab, employees can see those punches and browse through their historical time cards. But let's face it, what most employees are probably looking for in their employee portal is right here, their time off balance. Both the web-based employee portal and our mobile app, TimeWorks Plus Employee, give the employee a convenient dashboard for checking their PTO balance and requesting time off. Available balances are easily visible and can be labeled with whatever names used by your policy, like vacation, PTO, sick, even emergency sick leave. If your time off policy works as an accrual instead of an annual lump sum, employees and managers will find the time off balance report especially helpful. William here currently has 29.85 hours of vacation and wants to take time off in a few months. If he runs the report through September 10th, he'll see not only his future PTO earnings, but also any approved time off that reduces his balance. In this case, William will have 44.92 hours available for the time he wants off in September. All that without having to ask the manager how much PTO he has. That's a big benefit of TimeWorks Plus time off workflow. It gives employees insight and agency regarding their time off. so managers spend less time facilitating requests. Another tool at the employee's disposal is the departmental time off calendar. In this case, the employee can see that two coworkers have requests that coincide with the date they want off, one approved and one pending. By seeing this, they can choose a different time period and save your managers a lot of back and forth. And when paid leave is tracked in TimeWorks Plus, if an employee's request does exceed their available balance, they will be warned in advance. Just a reminder again, employees can manage their PTO in both the portal or the mobile app, which is where I am right now, requesting time off for the holiday. Once that request is submitted, their manager gets an email and can approve or deny it from the administrative side of TimeWorks Plus. That's where I am now. Pending and approved employee time off requests are found directly from the navigation menu. Managers also have their own calendar for checking the departmental time off schedule. Because this request coincides with another employee's time off in the department, the request has been flagged. One option for the manager is to suggest a change to the request instead of rejecting it outright, like I'm doing here. I'll suggest a half day for the employee with a comment, and by changing the hours, the request becomes conditionally approved. It will be sent back to the employee for their decision on whether to accept it or withdraw the request entirely. In cases where the manager makes the decision to approve or reject the request, the employee also gets notified with a push notification on the mobile app, as shown earlier, and an email. Managers, both administrative top-level managers and departmental supervisors, get a dashboard of their own in the administrative portal. Missing punches, employees on the clock, and overtime metrics are all available to see. These elements are actionable. Managers who want to keep up to date on their time cards can check to see who has missing punches. In this case, the employee already noted that they forgot to clock out and left a note on the time card. This note feature is a convenient way for employees to communicate to their manager about their time card. If the manager is okay with the employee's suggested out time, they just click Edit, add the punch, and move on. All changes to a time card are documented and visible in a hover-over pop-up, as well as in a dedicated report, the time card audit log. That shows all changes and records who made the change. And while we're on the subject, let's talk a little bit more about time cards. If the clock is where it all starts, then the time card is where everything happens. Managers can pull up a single-day view listing all their assigned employees. It can be filtered to show missing punches or just those on the clock. Additional filters can be applied based on organizational or labor data, as well as user-defined employee groups, like this one I made for remote workers. Something like this comes in handy if you use our mobile location management feature and want to see where your employees are currently working. When it comes to managing time cards, everyone has their own workflow. When supervisors get busy, they may not have a chance to look at time cards until the period is over. In that case, select Previous Period and get a list of employees from which to retrieve their time card. Those with missing punches are easy to identify with this M column. These other columns give you some additional info. The E column counts how many edits were made, and A indicates the approval status in our time card approvals feature. With approvals, employees can approve each day on their time card, or do it all at once at the end of the pay period. This way, you have validation that the employee has seen any edits that may have been made to their time card. If any edits are made after approval, the status changes back to unapproved. These approval icons here in the clock activity pane and time card reflect the status. Green means approved, and a manager can add their approval on the time card as well, marking that it's ready for payroll. TimeWorks Plus has two levels of administrative users, managers and supervisors. So depending on your organizational structure, it's possible to implement any combination of three levels of approval: employee, supervisor, and manager. So those are the day in, day out features you and your staff will likely need in any time and attendance solution. But if you're looking for a solution, likely you want something more than just time cards and time off. Here are some extended features designed to give you productive data out of your time and attendance system. View overtime right from the dashboard. For example, this employee has already crossed the 40-hour threshold. Let's go to the time card to learn why. Here's a possible clue why. These schedule alerts call out that this employee is staying beyond the end of their scheduled shift. Use this data to talk to supervisors about why employees have to stay late. It can also be a cue to speak with those making the schedule and ask them to build in better coverage that doesn't risk overtime. Also, with scheduling enabled, you can generate a deviation report showing not only tardiness, but any variation from the schedule, like clocking out early. All these schedule deviation thresholds can be set to your preference, and if you are using TimeWorks Touch, Web Clock, or the mobile app, you can enable clock lockout to prevent employees from starting their shift early. Leverage the wage and labor features of TimeWorks Plus to see how your workforce costs fit into your business's big picture. Track wages with pay rates as a data point on the time card. This provides insight into your costs before running payroll. Another frequently used feature is clock prompts. They collect additional labor codes with the hours. Here's an example where an employee is designating a job code after punching in. But you could also use clock prompts for tracking hours and wages within a department or location. Clock prompts can also be used for collecting tips or mileage if your employees are responsible for adding that data to their time card. All this data, what to do with it? We have many report options, so I'm going to highlight just a few. For an easy Excel summary of the pay period, or any date range for that matter, there's the Pay Period Summary Report. The output is a great archive for your records and includes employee-by-employee hours with pay categories and wage data, week-by-week breakdowns, and more. Interested in whether your part-time employees are exceeding an average hours threshold? Use the Work Month or Work Week report. They do a look-back rolling average to evaluate hours and determine full-time equivalents, which can be handy for ACA compliance. Medical facilities that are required to report staffing hours to CMS can be configured with the payroll-based journal report. This report does require some configuration for identifying job title and pay type codes, but once done, you can pull your staffing data for quarterly reporting like any other report. As I said, there's more to our reporting than what I just showed you, but also know that our custom report component lets users create their own reports, picking fields and aggregating data. Here's a custom report I created strictly for showing me overtime wages by location. And I was able to include the supervisor data as well, so I can talk to those supervisors about why employees are working overtime. Here are some other benefits TimeWorks Plus offers. Ditch the spreadsheets for tracking employee time off and have your paid leave policy built into the system with a custom accrual script. Balances will be incremented and decremented automatically according to your policy, and you and your staff will be able to report on it. Here's an example of an employee's accrual earnings with 5 years of service, and another with only 2 years of service. As I mentioned earlier, paid lunches and breaks can be tracked with Intelligent Clock. Here's a time card where the employee got 30 minutes of their lunch paid. But the next day, the employee exceeded the paid lunch threshold by taking an hour, so they didn't get paid for lunch at all. You can also prevent an employee from shorting their lunch. If a minimum 30 minutes is mandated by state law, you can prevent the employee from returning early with a setting on the Intelligent Clock lunch rules. For those of you with a mobile workforce that clock in using our mobile app, we offer mobile location management for an additional fee. Get location and address data for those employees using the mobile app. Combine it with a clock prompt so they can select different remote sites if they're working on the road. With mobile location management comes the option to set up geofences for flagging punches that were made outside of a perimeter. Supervisors can easily pull up this data on the Timecard and see which punches were made inside and outside of a fence, as you see here. But email alerts can also be sent out when a punch is made outside of an employee's assigned geofence. I hope you now better understand how TimeWorks Plus addresses your time and attendance needs. Thanks for watching.